Moses didn't just lead a people, he carried a generation on his shoulders. And when he died, everything changed. But not in the way history books tell you. What followed wasn't just a funeral. It was a cosmic shift, a rupture in the spiritual timeline. What if I told you 5 supernatural events unfolded after his death, changing Israel forever? What if I told you this story isn't over? Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. You're not here by accident. You're about to unlock truths buried for thousands of years. Let's uncover the unseen. Let's tear the veil off one of the most dramatic turning points in human history. He stood on the edge of eternity, his eyes drinking in the promised land he would never enter. Moses, the prophet who split seas and faced down empires, now faced the end. After 120 years, his mission was complete, but his story wasn't. It was just beginning. His death was not silence. It was thunder. Something ancient stirred the moment he exhaled for the last time. And in that breath, a new war began. Not between nations, but between realms. God himself buried him. That alone breaks every rule we've ever known. No one saw it. No one followed. No funeral procession. No tears from the people he led through plagues and deserts. Just the Creator, cradling his servant in silence, hiding his body where no soul would ever find it. Not a monument, not a shrine. Just sacred, divine disappearance. It was more than a burial. It was a message. Something the world wasn't ready to witness. But hell was watching, and it didn't like what it saw. In a scene so explosive it was hidden in a single verse of scripture, the archangel Michael clashed with Satan himself over Moses' body. Not symbolically, literally. 2 celestial forces, 1 mission. Possession of a prophet's corpse. Can you imagine the fury in that moment? The thunder in the spirit realm? This wasn't a fight over remains. It was about legacy, influence, spiritual jurisdiction. Why did the enemy want that body so badly? Some scholars believe he wanted to turn it into a shrine, a twisted holy site to deceive the people. Imagine it, the man who once spoke with God face to face, reduced to an idol. And Satan, the master of distortion, knew that if he could corrupt the memory of Moses, he could corrupt an entire nation. Influence doesn't die with the body, it echoes. And Satan wanted to bend that echo toward himself. Michael didn't debate. He didn't accuse. He invoked the ultimate authority. The Lord rebuke you. That's how fierce the moment was. That's how close the battle came to tipping. The result? The body vanished. No prophet, no king, no priest ever found it. And many tried. Treasure hunters, mystics, rulers, all failed. It was hidden beyond the reach of man, tucked somewhere between earth and eternity. And still today, the mystery breathes. That silence screamed something deeper, that Moses wasn't just buried, he was reserved. Because years later, he would appear again, not in ghostly fashion, not in vision, but alive, on a mountaintop, standing beside Jesus during the Transfiguration. How does a man buried by God return centuries later to speak with the Messiah? This isn't mythology, this is scripture, and it challenges every framework we've used to understand death and destiny. You see, Moses' death wasn't the end. It was a gateway. His disappearance became the first domino in a chain of supernatural disruptions that transformed a wandering tribe into a nation. If you've ever questioned whether a single moment can rewrite history, this is it. His final breath triggered something divine, and what came next would shake Israel to its core. The next morning, the sky was silent. For 40 years, heaven had opened every day, dropping bread onto the earth. Manna, the divine provision that sustained millions. It was predictable, constant, miraculous, until it wasn't. The day after Moses died, it stopped. No warning, no farewell, just absence. The people woke up, baskets in hand, and found nothing. Only sand and wind, and questions that cut deep into their bones. Can you picture it? Mothers searching the earth, children crying, elders confused. Panic spread like wildfire. Has God left us? They whispered. But the message was clear. The season had changed. The manna was a symbol, not just of nourishment, but of dependence. And now God was shifting the relationship. No longer would they be spoon-fed grace. It was time to work the land, to sow, reap, toil, to grow. The silence of the heavens was not abandonment, it was evolution. Because the promised land wasn't just a gift, it was a test. A place that flowed with milk and honey, yes, but only if you were willing to dig, to plant, to believe without seeing. The era of daily miracles had ended. The era of cultivated faith had begun. That's how God moves. From wonder to work. From falling blessings to rising responsibility. Josue, newly anointed, faced the backlash. With Moses, we never starved, they cried. Doubt turned to resentment. But Josue stood firm. The land would yield. God had promised. But they had to meet him halfway. And so began a brutal transition, from supernatural supply to agricultural sweat, from collecting to cultivating. Many grumbled, many feared, but some understood. They rationed what manna remained. Families learned to farm. The soil, untouched for centuries, began to respond. Wheat pushed through cracked earth. Olive trees bent with oil. Fruit bloomed in wild sweetness. It was as if the land remembered the covenant better than the people did. As if it had waited, dormant and patient, for its chosen heirs to finally arrive and claim it. And yet, something was missing. The manna had been more than food. It had been a tether to the divine. Every morning when they picked up that bread, they picked up proof that God had not forgotten them. Now, they had to find new ways to feel him. In the wind across the fields, in the sweat on their brow, in the hands of one another. Miracles hadn't vanished. They had changed form. The final jar of manna was sealed in the ark, a time capsule of faith, a reminder that God had once fed them from the sky. But the real treasure wasn't what fell from heaven. It was what grew from within. If you're in a season where things once easy now feel hard, maybe it's not punishment. Maybe it's promotion. Growth begins where comfort ends. But something even more painful than the loss of food was about to strike. The loss of voice. For 40 years, Moses had been the divine connection, the voice in the fire, the man who could walk into a tent and come out carrying the will of God. He was more than a prophet. He was the nation's hotline to heaven. When he died, that line went dead. Imagine living your whole life with God speaking through one man. And now, silence. The people felt it like a cold wind through their souls. When disputes rose, when questions came, there was no longer anyone who could climb a mountain and return with fire in his eyes. Moses had made the invisible audible. Without him, the heavens felt sealed shut.